I'm Steve Zimmerman with Spectrum Nonprofit Services. Too often the conversation about revenue strategy at the board level becomes a game of who do you know who can give us money? And while this might solve a short-term cash crunch, it doesn't lead to a long-term sustainable revenue strategy. Even worse, it can result in board members feeling exhausted, depleted, or in some cases even used. For years, the mantra of revenue strategy has been diversification, as if the more the merrier. But as we saw in the Great Recession of 2008, and we're seeing today, that doesn't always guarantee success. In fact, research shows it may hinder growth. Don't get me wrong, diversification is a good thing, but it depends on how organizations go about it. First, let's define some vocabulary so that we know we're talking about the same thing. The first term is revenue stream, and that is the big picture around where an organization is getting its revenue from. Now, nonprofits enjoy both earned income and philanthropic revenue streams, such as individuals, major donors, events, corporations, fee-for-service, or government contracts. The second term to define is revenue source. We use source to define the specific people who are actually providing the funding. For example, the revenue stream may be foundations, while the revenue source is the Community Foundation of Greater Fort Wayne. Why does this matter? Because every revenue stream is in essence its own business line, each requiring a set of skills, capacities, and relationships in order to be successful. And while there may be some overlap, there also are a lot of distinctions between them. But wait, what about diversification? Well, we think about diversification within revenue streams. So for example, if one of your primary revenue streams is going to be foundations, how do we leverage our strengths there to get many foundations contributing to our organization? As you think about your revenue strategy intentionally, there are three characteristics that you should consider: alignment with impact, flexibility, and organizational capacity. People give to nonprofit organizations because of their impact. This is true whether it's a philanthropic contribution or an earned revenue strategy. So one of the first steps in identifying a revenue strategy is really articulating your impact and identifying who benefits from it. See, when people see benefit from their contribution or from their payment as part of a fee-for-service, they are more likely to give again into the future, thus creating a reinforcing loop. Where you get money to carry out impact, the impact motivates people to give yet again. The second characteristic is flexibility. Nonprofits depend upon unrestricted revenue in order to build reserves and savings accounts. We're seeing in this moment the importance of having reserves to be able to survive a crisis. Having unrestricted income, whether it be philanthropic or the profits from an earned revenue source, is essential for nonprofits to be sustainable and to build those reserves. Lastly, consider your organizational capacity. As I said earlier, every revenue stream has its own set of skills, capacities, and relationships that are needed to be successful. So think about where your strengths are as you're building your revenue strategy. Some questions to ask include, who do we have key relationships with? Where have you had success in the past? And do we have proper systems or databases in place for revenue streams? For example, you shouldn't have an individual giving program without a donor database. And likewise, if you have government funds, you probably need a pretty robust accounting system. Your strengths can be built over time, but like anything, that requires investment and intentionality. Too often fundraising has become transactional, focused on getting the money in the door as opposed to building relationships. And while that's understandable, if you're really building a sustainable revenue strategy, by prioritizing those revenue streams that are aligned with your impact, produce flexible income, and leverage your organizational capacities, you'll increase the likelihood of success and be able to power your mission far into the future.